Welcome everyone to the February meeting of the Warren County Board of Supervisors. Please rise while Supervisor Driscoll leads us in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will read the roll.
Mr. Leggett?
Here.
Mr. Diamond?
Here.
Mr. McDevitt?
Here.
Ms. Bramer? Here. Mr. Loeb?
Here.
Mr. Driscoll?
Here.
Mrs. Frazier?
Here.
Mr. Simpson?
Here.
Ms. Hogan?
Here.
Mr. Dickinson? Mr. Merlino?
Here.
Mr. Strauss?
Here.
Mr. Wild?
Here.
Mr. Beatty?
Here.
Mr. McGowan?
Here.
Mr. Sokol?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Ms. Hyde?
Here.
Mr. Garrity?
Here.
Chairman Conover?
Here. You should all have received the minutes of our January 19 meeting. Chair will entertain a motion regarding the minutes. Mr. Simpson to approve. Mr. Merlino on the second. Any discussion? Ready for the motion? All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I might add, Mr. Merlino, it's wonderful to see you here today.
Well, Mr. Conover and my fellow supervisors, I just want to make a quick comment. I won't take too long. I know I scared all of you last week or the week before. I'm feeling better. I'm doing well. You can't get rid of me. I'm still around. But, you know, it gets scary, and when something like that, what happened to me, happens to anybody, and you get to know who the people that care, the facilities that we have here, the emergency management team that comes in. And but the scariest part for me that day was when I woke up and I was laying on the floor. Who I saw 6 inches from me was Mr. Loeb and Mr. McGowan, and I was more worried about that than I was what happened. But they were trying to discuss if I needed mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, who was going to give it to me, the Republican or the Democrat. The final draw was Mr. Beatty come up, leaning down, put an aspirin under my tongue, told me to keep my mouth shut. And I heard him say as he was walking away, yeah, he's one of the good old boys, he's doing well, let's get back to the meeting. So with that, and I want to thank personally a good friend of mine, Mr. Sokol, that stayed with me in the hospital until I had to finally throw him out so he can go to work. And the Bay Ridge EMS squad, phenomenal job. And our health and services downstairs came up, got rid of the supervisors from around me, and they started taking care of me. But I'm doing well, and I thank everybody for the emails and the letters and the phone calls. It was well appreciated. And thank you all.
Thank you.
It is good to have you back, Gene, but as you know, I went to the legs. I didn't go for the mouth. I was afraid of the CPR move.
All righty. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gene. And now, moving on with the agenda, Laura Calls. The floor is yours, Laura.
So good morning. My name is Laura Coles. Thank you so much for giving us a couple minutes, I think 10 of your time today. I know it's very valuable to talk about what I've been involved in the local tourism industry since 1978, when I rented my very first motel room just about half a mile from this building here, half a mile up the street, a small mom-and-pop 21-room motel. Thank you again. Also to all the business people throughout Warren County, from sports venues, retail, restaurants, entertainment, that are all focused on tourism and are committed to expanding the tourism economy and help provide input for this presentation today. Special thanks to Deb Eves from the North Creek Chamber, John Carr, Adirondack Brewery and Retail Ventures in Queensbury, Eric Unkoff from the Shirt Factory in Glens Falls, Tyler Herrick from the Queensbury Hotel in Glens Falls, and Jim Ferris out of Queensbury as well. But at the end of the day, here's a challenge we all face, right? Families, local businesses, and you, the supervisors, trying to balance the budget. How to find enough money in our budgets to pay for everything, and where is that money going to come from? The packet distributed includes some data and details of the vision for tourism that we've been working to develop with many of you for over the last 3 years. As a community, for all of us, we are so fortunate to have tourism as the second largest economic driver in our county, to be available to be a significant part of the solution to our question. Right now, 6,500 year-round jobs are directly tied to tourism, for a total of 9,300 direct and indirect jobs. In fact, 19% of the residents of the county have employment tied to tourism. And that tourism employment is $283 million in payroll. And every Warren County household sees a benefit of $2,500 reduction in their tax burden every year as a result of tourism. The tourists that visit Warren County spend $578 million in our region while here, which contributes to local taxes to the tune of at least $41 million, or 27% of Warren County's 2018 budget of $153 million. But tourism is competitive, regionally, nationally, worldwide. And if you look across the state by region from the latest available data, and that's in your packet, tourism is growing. Central New York tourism spending grew by $135 million, Niagara Falls $86 million, Catskills $62 million, Finger Lakes $61 million, Capital Saratoga region $43 million. In the Adirondack region, we grew by $45 million. $30 million of that came from Essex County, $7 million from Warren County, and the balance from the other counties that make up the Adirondacks. So even though Warren County tourism saw spending grow by 1.3%, an occupancy tax by 135 for that most recently available data, there are some confusing signs appearing in the business data that we look at as business owners. Retail at the outlets is struggling. Reported results are showing an overall decrease last year, and early 2018 results, frankly, are worse. A cross-section of the 10 branded mid-scale hotels across Warren County reported a 4% decline in revenue for 2017 versus 2016. A cross-section of the top hotels, year over year, 2016 versus 17, showed revenue down by 8%. Perhaps the county treasurer's office is probably the best equipped to analyze the 2017 results using the occupancy tax data. They could go ahead. It'd be interesting to better understand what segments drove the modest occupancy tax increase we saw, given the results from the branded hotels in the region, and maybe what's the impact of the new properties in the region. Personally, I think the growth was driven by the significant investments made by the private sector in our businesses. You all know about the hotel investments. There's the Marriott, the Holiday Inn Express, the Surfside, the Queensberry. Plus, every other property in the area puts some amount of annual investment to try to continue to attract guests. The Great Escape did a lot of infrastructure and new rides in recent years. Retail continues to try to bring in new stores and redevelop other stores. Pretty conservative estimate in the last year or so, $80 million in private investment. But all that aside, back to the original question. How do we find room in our budgets to fit everything in? We've had that conversation here in this room. There's a lot we want to do. We can't pay for it all. And then where's that money going to come from? There are so many talented people in the county, many right here in this very room today, all willing to invest in tourism to grow our economy. And we have an occupancy tax law that generates a dedicated funding stream with the sole purpose to continue to drive the tourism engine for our economy. Again, direct tourism spending by visitors in Warren County, $578 million, generating $41 million in sales tax, more than any of our neighboring counties, but has one of the slowest growth rates. Can we figure out how to grow Warren County's fair share of tourism spending from 1% of the New York State total? Can we compete and see year-over-year increases such as Essex County, Central New York counties, the Finger Lakes, or Niagara? Can Warren County use our $4 million plus in occupancy tax collections, the most of all of our direct competitors, to drive the tourism engine to solve the county, town, and village budget gaps already being felt? Yes, we can. But we have to act now. The generally accepted best practice to promote tourism is the utilization of a Convention Visitors Bureau, CVB, or direct marketing organization, DMO. All of our competing tourism-driven economies in New York State utilize this model. And of the 17 CVB DMOs in New York State, Warren County ranks 17th in funding our CVB. We'd like to thank the supervisors, though, for your recent commitment to increase the funding of the CVB budget by $90,000 to $300,000 this year. We believe that the return on investment of the occupancy tax dollars invested in the CVB generates some of the best returns possible. Last year, our one-person funded CVB with funding of $175,000 contributed 35 events, for 10,000 room nights, for over $3 million in hotel bookings alone. Plus, then all that spin-off in the restaurants, the retail, the entertainment, all of which drove sales tax dollars back to our county. So we all started some serious discussion about this in October of 2014 and have made a lot of progress. Occupancy tax and tourism are frequently discussed around the county and in this room. Here I am today. The tourism department has made material changes in their approach and outreach, and they have made a difference. The business community is focused and working to enable change with all of you. With the help from many of the leaders in this room, we are working towards a new CVB DMO model with a transition period over the next couple of years. We've met with many of you already to vet and make recommendations on this plan that does several things. One, it incorporates the existing tourism committee and advisory boards. It incorporates the existing county tourism department. It includes continued town participation and still provides for a CVB DMO that can truly position our region for future success in tourism. The plan improves accountability, transparency, and collaboration. It builds a sustainable, multi-year strategic plan, and it brings new energy and year-round thought processes to market all of your towns, all of the activities, all of the events throughout our region as one whole entity. There's no question. You know, my life experience in tourism is an American dream success story. But will my children that are growing up here in Warren County be able to say the same thing? The 9,300 plus tourism employees and the rest of the residents in Warren County can only benefit if we take action. School districts are shrinking, year-round job growth is low, every town and village faces financial challenges just like you do here at the county level. The communities we compete against are taking action and moving faster than ever before to grow their tourism economies. We have to take action now or face falling further behind. For our last couple minutes, Frank has asked to give you a brief overview with a little bit more detail on that plan. But that said, I and many of your constituents are ready to meet with you at any time to discuss how, specifically, the CVB DMO plan for tourism relates to your towns and how it will help both your towns and the county as a whole in more detail at your convenience. Thank you.
You're welcome. And without objection, Mr. Dietrich. Frank? Sure.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a second here. I hope Laura went through a lot of numbers. We gave you a pack that has those in them. I think the big takeaways, first, I hope everybody agrees tourism is a wonderful thing in our community. We believe from the business community that we've made a lot of progress since 2014. Supervisor Molino, who's here, Supervisor Dickinson, Conover, Supervisor Garrity in particular, have all been meeting with us and working with us quite hard to try to gain a common understanding of what we should be doing and where we should be going. We have a great opportunity here, but as Laura said, we are in a competing marketplace. Shocking to me was to see Central New York's growth in tourism-based spending, $165 million it went up. Our region, 45, 30 of which was in Essex County. So it's not that we're doing a bad job. If anybody thinks that our mission is to say we're doing bad, we're not. That's not the point here. What we're trying to help with education and data is to show where we fit in the competitive landscape. And our concern, as Laura ran through some numbers with regard to the hotels and how some of the bigger chains are doing. So we're not in the mom and pop space here. We're in the mid-tier and top-tier properties. There's some warning signals there. The retail outlets are throwing out warning signals. We think we live on top of a gold mine here. Our ask is that we work together to try to figure out what do we do with the over $4 million that we collect in occupancy tax, which, by the way, is the #1 in the state. We collect more occupancy tax than some states in the United States in this county. So we sit in a very weird place in that we collect a lot because people naturally are coming here. The concern that we have is over time they will naturally find another place to go, like Central New York, Niagara, the Finger Lakes region. So when we think about our ask here is that we continue to work together. We believe that we are, by the way. So the ask is that we continue to do that. Let's sit down together. Let's get our heads around data. Is it fact or fiction? Are they sending out warning signs, or are they sending out positive notes that we should reinforce and do more of? We're not sure. We think they're warning signs, but we could be wrong. So, but sitting down, we need Mike's help on that. We need the county's supervisor's support, of course, for that, to drill into this and see where we really sit. The CVB, for many of you, we worry you think it's a threat. You think it's a Lake George-centric thing that forgets the rest of the county. It isn't that. In fact, if it was that, the CVB would fail. What are you going to do last year? Roll back the clock last year in February of 2017 in Lake George. If you ran your snowmobile on the lake, it better have floats, right? The lake wasn't frozen. Wouldn't work, right? So, and the BBG&G study told us the strength of our region is the entire county, end to end. That's why from the Business Association, we've been reaching as far to the south and north as we can. We want more help, obviously, and our perspective is a fully functioning CVB working in conjunction with the county with funding, adequate funding, of course, can lead us to a series of strategic steps and actions that lead us forward as a community, not just the Lake George versus Glens Falls or Queensbury or pick your favorite targets. That's not the goal. We all know the whole, if we can rise the entire tide, all ships will float. That's the goal here. So, Supervisor, thank you for the time. We appreciate it, and we look forward to spending as much time with you as you are interested in. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Now we have Kaitlin Vollrath with the Adirondack North Country Association. Good morning, Kaitlin. How are you this morning? Absolutely, go right ahead.
Good morning, and thanks so much for having us here. I'm Kaitlin Vollrath with the Adirondack North Country Association, also called ANCA, and my colleague Jake Vollrath. And we are here first and foremost to thank you for your long-standing support of our work. And we rely on your membership dollars every year to develop programs that impact Warren County and our 14-county region that we serve in the region. We are a nonprofit. We're based in Saranac Lake, but we do serve 14 counties. And those membership dollars are leveraged with other philanthropic dollars, with grant money, to around $1.2 million operating budget. We are an economic development organization, but we work to grow a new economy that provides sustainable economic development with an emphasis on local food, local business, and local energy. And so what the previous speakers were just saying really resonated with me, and I assume with my colleague. We don't work specifically in Warren County, but what we do complements very much the work that is going on here. So the first example that I have for projects we've been doing in Warren County actually ties in nicely with the tourism aspects. We are a convener. We are a nonpartisan organization. We have a lot of partners, and we see important conversations that need to happen in the region, and we are well suited to bring people together. So our energy conference has been going on for 5 years. Clean energy economy is the fastest growing economy in New York State and the nation. And that conference we held in Glens Falls this past fall. We had almost 200 people come. The estimated impact of that conference in the county was between $45,000 and $50,000. Now, when we build our strong local economies, including a local energy economy, what we see that as doing is circulating more of those dollars in the region. We stabilize our communities, so when a big employer moves in or out, we still have quality family-sustaining jobs in the region. And it creates vibrant main streets. We work with a lot of artisans, arts organizations, coffee shops, people who want to make their main streets vibrant so that when visitors come to our region, they like it and they want to come back. They want to bring their friends and family. They may want to stay here. We have population pressure. So that's part of what we do, is to ensure that system is healthy and people come, they have a good experience. We also develop and implement projects around those areas, so be it local food or clean energy. One example is our work with food hubs and farm to school. We've been doing that predominantly in Essex County in St. Lawrence and Jefferson County. The food hub we worked with helped get grant funding is now serving 40 farmers and food producers. 300,000 pounds of produce has been processed through there into value-added products to sell through other markets to bring benefit to those producers. Now we've been in talks with the Adirondack Health Institute, and we're excited. They've reached out through Chris Hunsinger, who works at the county as one of our board members, introduced us to say, okay, how can the examples of the projects we've started in those areas benefit Warren County and the other counties served by the Adirondack Health Institute. So we're excited to be starting those conversations in the next, we have a conversation scheduled actually at the hub on the Hill in Essex in 3 weeks. The other thing we do is we work collaboratively. We work with a large number of partners in the region, other nonprofits, the Workforce Development Institute, IDAs, because it's with such a broad region and such a our rural populations, we're not experts on everything, but we know who to get into a room to work together. So one example of how that's impacted Warren County is the forest product study that we worked on, was released just over a year ago in collaboration with Finch Paper, with International Paper, with the Empire State Forest Products Association, Workforce Development Institute, and we looked specifically at the paper supply, the wood supply coming out of our forests, and there were some pinch points between biomass and paper, and when some of our paper manufacturers had to go out of the state to get the supply for their products, and with the forest we have here, we saw that was not really a sustainable situation. So what we learned in that study, which was funded by the stakeholders, was that there is no supply issue. There is enough of this product to serve the biomass, the growing biomass, which is an increasing number of jobs in our region, and the paper, employing over 9,000 people. But what it was a labor issue. And so we're working on the workforce training. Paul Smith College, Workforce Development Institute is now using this study as a blueprint for how to develop the training programs to keep those jobs in the region and keep that sector viable. So I'm Communications Director for ENCA. I don't work out in the field, but my colleague Jake Vollrath does. And so he, if we have a few more minutes, would like to share a little bit more in detail about some of the projects. Yes?
Thank you. I'm just going to touch quickly on 4 main projects that we are currently involved in that affect Warren County. One of them is the Common Ground Alliance. ENCA values bringing people together to discuss issues, to find common ground on issues, and there's great value in getting everybody's input. Happy to be on the board of the Common Ground with Mr. Simpson and newly Mr. Leggett as well. So that event brings together 200 leaders, citizens, business owners throughout the park to discuss tough issues, and it's had some great outcomes recently. We recently produced a video on the shirt factory, and it's taken off on social media. So it's small projects like that, like the shirt factory, which many of you know is a very unique and historical organization, the building, the history that's involved there. And we like to tell stories in our small towns, in our communities throughout the region, so that's very important to us. We've recently launched a website called Ignite, that is working. One of the things that we find when we're traveling around and talking to small business owners is that it's hard or difficult to find small amounts of capital to do small expansions that can hire more employees. So we've launched a website that's kind of based on a Kickstarter type model, but focused on expanding small businesses in our region. Small amounts of capital, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 raised from people within the region, keeping our dollars local, helping our local businesses. We're also focusing right now on starting up a business transition services, and a lot of the concern that I heard earlier was we have a lot of folks potentially leaving our region. What we want to do is keep not only the people here, but our small businesses here. We see shops closing up from around the region. We want to work with them before it gets to that point to either find new buyers or find different models that can work to keep those businesses here and keep our downtowns vibrant. The last project I'll mention is the regional economic analysis that we're working on. We're working with Deb Markley from the Center for Rural Entrepreneurship. She's a very nationally well-known person involved in economic development. It's a $200,000 project, and it's funded by individuals, foundations, businesses throughout our region. It's focused on identifying key sectors of the economy that we should be focusing on expanding in the next 5, 10, 15 years. So kind of thinking 5, 10, 15 years out on where we'll be with economic development, and that report should be coming in 2018, late 2018.
Thank you. Thank you. And I see we have a number of guests here are there spokespeople that would like to address the board at this time? And without objection from the supervisors, I would offer the podium to any spokespeople that care to address the board. Frank, are you interested? No, you're not. Anyone else? Well, right ahead.
I'm Virginia Winters, and I'm from the Cedars Seniors, and it's quite obvious why we are here. We're fighting to save our food program at the Cedars, and I would just like to thank the supervisors that came on February 13th and spent time with us, talked to us. We had questions for them. We had questions for them, and we just had a great day. It was very nice to be able to socialize and talk to these fellas and ladies. And I'd just like to say that we would like to be heard. We have some people here that would like to express their reasons why we want this program to continue at the Cedars. First speaking will be Jan LeDoux.
Good morning. My name is Janet LeDoux. I'm 75 years old, and I've lived in Warren County all my life. I have owned 4 homes during that time. I have always paid my taxes on time and without regret, and that's for 53 years as a homeowner. I am now living at the Cedars too. I can't maintain my house anymore. I like to walk over to Cedars one for lunch early because the kitchen staff are out there in the kitchen singing and laughing while they are working. The atmosphere is really a boost to my mood and my spirit. At my age, that's a plus. We are trying to do our part to help the cause. We have offered to pay a little more money for our meals, even though you must realize that's a very hardship for a lot of people. Some of the drivers have offered to give up the gas money, mileage money. What more can we do to help? What can you do to help us keep the meal site at the Cedars? What corners can you cut? I would like to end by saying how important the socialization is to seniors, and I think that Warren County taxpayers' money should stay in Warren County. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Karl Ross. I and my wife Agnes live at the Cedars. I would just like to make 4 brief points. I find it very unfortunate to see Warren County tax dollars going to Washington County when we have a proven system here that has and is continuing to work very well for everyone. Another possibility is that some savings realized in the Office for the Aging Department might possibly be picked up in another Warren County department in unemployment, medical benefits costs if our now fully employed workers cannot find employment. Money spent on Medicaid and other expenses will be from another department, but still will be Warren County tax money. Number 3, our kitchen manager, Trudy, has asked to be given a budget to go by, but none has ever been forthcoming. The news that a new 2-year contract between Warren County and the Cedars have been signed in December, which, if true, in my estimation, seems to negate this whole dilemma that we find ourselves dealing with. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Oh, one more? Okay, very good. You could state your name, please.
Good morning. My name is Lillian Finney. I've lived at Cedars going on 15 years. I've eaten downstairs a lot.
These people are the most caring that I know. For example, there were twice that two ladies didn't show up. So Maggie went up to give their lunch and check on them. She found that they both weren't alive and called for help. So that shows how passionate these people are. If you close Cedars, we won't get that. They all care for us and treat us all alike. So please don't let them leave Cedars Kitchen. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Bill Heydrich. I lived at the Cedars for the last 12 years, and I've been the activity director for Cedars for the last 6. And I just wanted to say that the program works very well. From the fact that we have people preparing the food, delivering and serving, that this is like almost an ideal program. It should be a model program in a way, that this is the way that something efficient is working. So in order for you to look at the budget, I think you need to look beyond the numbers. Hopefully you're looking beyond the numbers, so you'll see the heart and the soul of the people that are there at the Cedars. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Warren County Supervisors. My name is Pam Reid. I am a resident of Queensbury, and I am a senior. I would like to address the proposed cutbacks to the Warren County Meals on Wheels program. I'm concerned by the seeming lack of transparency that has led to the January 23rd vote by a committee of supervisors to no longer have 300-plus daily meals prepared and cooked for seniors in the designated Commercial Kitchen Meals on Wheels site in Queensbury. That decision also impacts the lives of the kitchen staff, who were told that same day that they would lose their jobs by the end of March. Seniors of Queensbury and Glens Falls deserve the quality meals prepared by the dedicated staff at the Cedars site. It is in Warren County. It is a commercial kitchen. The staff are accomplished at their work. Seniors deserve to be consulted about proposed cutbacks that affect them. Warren County's aging population pay taxes. We elect you, our local government, in the trust that you will represent us fairly. We participate, we volunteer, we support our local economy, and now we are reaching out to you for support. We are asking Warren County supervisors to explore other solutions for the necessary cutbacks. To those supervisors who have met with us to hear our concerns and to share your views on this matter, we are grateful. You came to the Cedars to see the Meals on Wheels kitchen facility and to listen to the kitchen staff. You had lunch with us and experienced for yourselves the tasty and well-prepared meals served each day to over 300 seniors in our area. You saw the sense of community that has grown up between seniors and the Meals on Wheels staff and the volunteers. This is transparency. This is working together to find a solution that will help Warren County while keeping our Queensbury kitchen and continuing to provide warm, nourishing meals to seniors. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to offer this as part of the record.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
I'm Dian Collins. I'm a volunteer driver for Meals on Wheels. And again, I wanted to thank all the supervisors that came to our luncheon. Specifically, Supervisor Wild led me to this speech that I wanted to give you and also give it to the Secretary for your minutes. He took the time to go from table to table asking us what we would miss or what we like best about the program. So what I'll read is the reasons not to close the Cedars Kitchen. 1, loss of efficiency and speed. I arrive at the Cedars around 10:45 on Tuesdays. The hot meals prepared in the kitchen are wrapped individually and placed in the carrying chest in the order that we volunteers arrive. We are then out the door right away and delivering the meals within 15 to 20 minutes. The system is remarkably efficient and prompt, with all meals delivered to our respective locations within 30 minutes door to door. Transporting wrapped meals from the Washington County Jail to the Cedars for distribution will probably take at least 30 minutes. Another 30 minutes to reorganize the 300 daily meals for placement into the volunteer carrying chest, then delivery to the homes of our seniors. Clearly a significant delay. 2, loss of confidence in the quality, the way the food is handled by current staff. The kitchen staff are industrious, have worked there for several years, and feel they make a difference to the seniors. They want the meals to be as good as possible. Cooking holiday meals for the Cedars residents brings added appreciation for their efforts. The Meals on Wheels recipients that I see on Tuesdays are always appreciative of the hot meals. Complaints essentially non-existent. And the third reason not to close the kitchen, possible loss of volunteers. Our volunteers deliver over 300 meals a day, Monday through Friday, some volunteering more than one day. We share camaraderie with each other as well as with the program staff. Feeding our seniors efficiently relies on our teamwork. Losing our kitchen staff for budgetary reasons is a financial hardship for them and an ill-considered hardship for this exemplary program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Seth Griffin, and I'm a resident of Cedars and Evergreen Lane. What I have to say is a recent quote in the Post-Star stated, the Post-Star article says Cedars 300 meals a day could be taken over by the Washington County without the need to hire extra help or to receive or to pay overtime to prepare these. How can this be possible, we ask? It is my hope meals continue to be provided by the senior with the good service they are providing right now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, just quickly, my name is Holly Hahn. I'm a TIPS instructor here in Warren County, and I am also a volunteer driver for Meals on Wheels, and I also do hospice. I just want to say, being in the restaurant business my entire life, for over 50 years, that I can tell you the quality will not be the same if it's transported from one place to another. The other thing I see is the camaraderie between the kitchen and the dining room. Some people, they don't get to go out to restaurants anymore. And this is, you guys had the meal. It was not bad at all. It was good. The chicken and the potatoes, and it was very good. And I'd hate to see them lose that. It's very important when we get older to have this that we can't get out. And the shut-ins, if you people only could see what we see, and they just love the meals and it makes them happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mary Jane Melton. I also live at the Cedars. I've only been there 2.5 years. But what I'd like to address some important aspects of the Meals on Wheels program. Yes, we receive well-balanced and flavorful meals Monday through Friday. This is the main meal of the day for many of the people that are receiving these meals. And some might not have a meal as good as that. The kitchen staff also prepares special meals on holidays like Easter, St. Patrick's Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. They put their all into these to make these meals on the holidays and make it brighter for all the people that are taking those meals. To take these away, it certainly wouldn't be as enjoyable as these people make it for us. Do you really want to take this away from us? It's a question well asked. Socialization is a very important part of this program. We talk to each other, we hear wonderful stories, some great jokes. The interaction is too very important. Without this camaraderie, people become lonely and even get depressed. Not a good situation. Do you really want this for your seniors? Excuse me. Safety is a very important part of this whole program. The volunteers that deliver these meals do kind of a spot check when they go in. They don't search the whole apartment, no, but they just look around. They might find something that they feel would make these people at risk. So they go back and they report this to appropriate people. The staff in the Cedars Kitchen do a wonderful job. It is a very successful program. Great meals, socialization opportunities, and safety are all parts of this at the Cedars. Do you really feel this should be taken away? We do not. Please reconsider this. There's an age-old saying, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Good morning. My name is Trudy, Lapis, and I am the food manager at the Cedars Meal Site. I've been in the food business since 1985. I joined the U.S. Army as a hospital food service specialist. I know my job, and I know it well. I wish I could get a chance to try to save money for the county. I was never asked, Trudy, what can you do to try to save money? Well, immediately, once I found out that we were all losing our jobs because of money, because I had no idea that was an issue, I did get rid of a knife service that we had. They came once a month and sharpened our knives and our slicer. The employees never had sharp knives. The slicer had a chip in it for years. They were ecstatic when they had nice knives to work with. I paid $30 a month for it, so I got rid of that. It's not a lot of money, but it's $300-something a year. Also, I could maybe check with Warrensburg Laundry, see about doing laundry service instead of buying the throwaway towels that we use. You know, I could see how much that would cost to use the regular towels, have the laundry pick it up, bring it, wash it, and come back. I could do a comparison with that to see if I could save money there. We could make our own gravy and not add salt instead of buying sodium-free gravy. That costs $700 for 3 boxes, and there's only like 4 bags in a box. I could also speak with a dietitian, maybe work with her, and maybe not have such high-end items on so often. Like beef stew, it's pretty expensive. It pays like $700 for one for everybody. You know, maybe not have that on so much. I think that we could try, at least please let me try, to save money, to save people 7 jobs. I go in at 7. I get 30 to 50 calls a day between 7 and 2 from clients. I've never met some of these clients, but I know them. They know me. Sometimes they just talk to me. Who's going to take all these calls? Like they call and say, I have a doctor's appointment, Trudy. I'm not going to be there. So I take them off. Or they're in the hospital. I take them off. And then you call. And, you know, I don't know who's going to do that when they only work 30 hours a week. I don't see that happening. And Rachel Ray, I don't know if you guys know this, but she donates dog and cat food to us. I can call her and get dog and cat food delivered every couple months. These volunteers deliver this dog and cat food to these clients, and they are very appreciative. Is Washington County going to do that? Probably not. Let me see. I don't know what else to say. I love these guys. I love the staff I work with. We get along great. We're a family. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want them to lose their job. And just please, I'm asking you to please give me a chance to try to save some money. And I'll work with anybody. Just don't take our jobs, please. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Margaret Hoy. I did have the chance to meet some of you the other day. That was an honor to be able to cook for somebody that I normally don't cook for. I heard a few comments that were made that, oh, these people eat like kings. And I want to let you know I run off the same bidding system as your Warren County jail. So if you feel like your inmates eat like kings, that's your bidding system that you've set up for me. The reason the food was so enjoyable and that you had such an excellent time is because of the years' experience and the dedication that has been put in. Now, I'm not up here to badmouth anybody, although I've been badmouthed, my site has been badmouthed to these supervisors in this very room. I feel like in a situation like this, it should not be attack and tear down. It should be work together to save what we have. These people behind me may be taxpayers for you and clients for the Office of the Aging. These are my family. I know every single one of these people by name. I've shared their joys. I've been there to hug them and through their losses. This is not about saving a job because I don't know if the Board of Supervisors is aware, but we are in the union. And there will be trickle-down effects throughout this whole program because I am not ready to walk away from the seniors in what I do. So I understand that the representative from Lake Luzerne is here. There is a bumping system within this county, and although I don't want to work for any other seniors but the ones I take care of now, I will not give up on this program, and I will not be that easy to get rid of. Please, take a look. There's got to be other things that can be done. I've worked here for 13 years. I have grown up with these people. Everybody has issues inside their own companies. I'm sure as Board of Supervisors, you have had times where you all do not agree. That is the beauty of this country. We don't all have to agree on something. But at the end of the day, we get our job done, and we do it efficiently. So I ask you, I plead with you, please, do not break apart the family that we have built for all these years. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitehead, sir, of course.
I would just like to remind the board that I would hope that they wouldn't take further services away from the seniors, as they did a few years ago with Westmount. These are people that have paid taxes all their lives. I think they're deserving of some respect. I think that, we were supposed to save $1 million a year, I was told, selling Westmount. I haven't seen that happen. We took another $1 million loss this year based on billings that we never submitted. It might have been a management problem more than anything else. But yet we went from a 4-star facility that our seniors could look to going to a 1-star facility that nobody's going to want to go to. We knew it at that time, what the proposed operator's record was, and he certainly has not improved it over the years. We went from 4 stars down to 1 star, and I just want you to consider that, and I hope you make a better decision today than you made 2 years ago. Thank you.
George Winters, Board John Clendenin in Queensbury. I just want to thank you for letting me speak today. And I can look around this room and say at least 90% of the people here are seniors. So this might be your spot, It's nothing to laugh at. These people deserve this. And my only question would be, how many other departments has dropped $150,000 from their program? That's another big question I have. Every time they want to save a little money, same way with selling Westmount. That didn't help the seniors. People loved it there. Now, I'm sure they don't now, but the only thing I'd like to say is these people deserve this. And I'm looking around the room, like I said. You got to look at yourselves. Can you do this to these people? That's my question. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you all for coming this morning. And we're going to move on with our meeting, and if you need to leave, don't feel it's rude. You're welcome to stay or leave.
I want to thank all of you for listening to our rules and everything, so please decide. Thank you very much.
All righty.
Great.
I know where you stand.
All righty. For the chairman's report, it was a very busy month. Committee meetings on January 23rd. On January 25th, attended Inter-County, Clinton County, where the proposed EMS, Betty Little's, Senator Little's proposed EMS legislation was discussed. On the 26th, more committee meetings. On the 29th and 30th, I attended the NISAC conference. I'm sure there are other supervisors here that will be commenting on the NISAC conference, but I'll mention a couple of things. One major item of discussion, of course, was the governor's budget and the movement from a general assessment program to more of a pilot program. A lot of concern was expressed by a number of representatives from other counties. And I'd like to thank Matt Simpson and the Public Safety Committee for bringing off the floor the Senator's legislation, which generated a considerable amount of discussion, and perhaps Supervisor Simpson might elaborate on that a little bit more. On February 1st, I attended Personnel and Finance, and on the 2nd, I attended the lunch at Hudson Falls Meal Site. On February 6th and 7th, personnel interviews for the County Administrator and Social Services Commissioner. And on February 8th, I had the privilege of attending the Warren County Highway Superintendent's meeting and luncheon. It was I had an opportunity to address the highway superintendents that were there and to talk about the winter and what a difficult winter has been, and to also talk about things like salt reduction and the new equipment that's on the market, live edge plows and whatever, and it was a terrific experience, and I would recommend it to any of you that have the opportunity to attend the Warren County Highway Superintendent's Luncheon. Kevin Heydrich can get you notifications if you're interested, and I know the highway superintendents would be thrilled to have supervisors at their meeting. And that concludes my report. Report by committee chairman. I'll start with Mr. Driscoll. Mr. Driscoll. Any report here today?
No.
Okay, very good. Ms. Frazier.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to pull resolution number 73, and we'll go back to committee with that.
Full resolution 73. Just give me a moment.
Right.
It's authorizing an agreement with Legal Aid Society. We'll need a motion. What's that? All right, we have a motion to withdraw. Do we have a second, Mr. Simpson, on the second? All in favor of the withdrawal signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution, Ms. Frazier, is withdrawn.
All right, thank you. The Health, Human, and Social Services met on January the 23rd. We had reports from Rob York with mental health, from Maureen Schmidt with social services, Pat Auer and Mr. Corcoran from Public Health and Countryside, and then Dee from Office of the Aging. A lot of their reports dealt with general housekeeping, which you'll see in the resolutions that are here. The one thing that I was disappointed, but I knew it was coming when Pat Auer announced that she's going to be retiring in March. She will be missed. She's done a wonderful job for the county. So we're going to have to be looking forward, filling that position now. And we do have a lot of resolutions. We have 14 altogether, which go from 63 up to 77. So I'm not going to read all of those resolutions. We had the packets in advance, but many of them just deal with authorizing agreements, amending resolutions, amending agreements. Several were for amending resolutions. So I think if you've had a chance to look them over, that I'm not going to spend all that time just reading all those resolutions off. And I did also attend NISAC. I was on the standing committee for public and mental health, where we brought forward like 3 or 4 resolutions that we're moving on to hopefully the state level. And that's all. Thank you.
You're welcome. Supervisor Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope you got about a half hour because you've got a lot here. DPW did meet January 26th, and we heard from Justin Gagno, report on the ice conditions and the flooding that was happening on the rail, in the rail corridor. We still have spots with places with ice. We're hoping that this weather will free it up and we can get that line back open. He did report that the SNCR spring and summer schedules have been established, and with a new pricing structure. Press release will be going out soon. This year's schedule is going to be similar to last year's schedule or past year's schedules, with weekend only runs May through June, and then it'll go to weekday runs after July 4th. And we heard from Mr. Benway about the open house at the hatchery that he's scheduled for, is working on it, for February 21st from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. We were hoping to have snowshoeing. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do that, but we'll be able to show the life cycle of trout and go over the whole thing down there and do some demonstrations on fly tying, and it ties in with winter break from the schools. Then we discussed the RFP for Adirondack Safari, and that is being worked on. I don't have an update. Mary, is that out yet?
The RFP?
Yeah.
I believe it went out last week.
It went out as of Monday.
Okay.
Julie confirmed that Monday or Tuesday it was out.
Okay. Thank you. So that's out. We're anxiously awaiting for that. It was a great thing last year having Adirondack Safari there. There was a lot of people, and they really enjoyed themselves in our county. When we were talking about the Adirondack Safari, it came up about the sewer line extension, the county project, the county home up to the Warrensburg sewer system, and it was suggested that we look into connecting the fairgrounds to the line. Now's the time to do it, to look through that and see if that's a possibility and what that would cost, so we could get that off of septic system. And we discussed Americade's proposal to use Westbrook parking lot for the $2,000 a day fee, which there's a resolution, which is resolution number 80 in your packets. We would like your support on that. We also have resolution 79 that came from committee for a contract with Clark Patterson Lee to increase the construction inspection services in connection with County Route 31 and County Route 13 bridge painting project. So while I'm still talking about that, on the last week, or when we had the snowstorm, I think it was the 7th or the 8th, we had at the request of Chairman Conover, with a discussion he had with DEC
their legal counsel, had a phone conference between our attorney and the state's attorney to just see what's going on, information sharing, you know, and kind of connect the county with the state. And I just wanted to tell you that that happened. And they're there for any support that we may need, you know, going forward and looking at our corridor. So I'm starting the process and laying the groundwork so that we can actually work on, you know, fulfilling Chairman Conover's county address. So the next thing is I did attend NISAC, and Chairman Conover alluded to the EMS legislation that Senator Little has brought forth. I brought that up in committee, and there was a lot of conversation generated by it. There's similar counties that are in the same predicament that we are, dealing with the same issues, and it was a good, serious, thoughtful discussion, and I think that's going to be moving forward in the process there. I had 5 meetings yesterday, marathon day, 5 boards that I sit on, and 2 of those boards, the Local Government Review Board and the Adirondack Association of Towns and Villages, which I'm the president of, we, in the governor's executive budget, there's legislation talking about revisions to the 480A exemption, which deals with, you know, tax exemptions set up for if you take your forest land, put it into 480A exemption. Well, under 480B, they plan to lower the threshold, or I'm sorry, this was the, that's the Empire Forest for the Future initiative. They plan on lowering the threshold under a 480B, and then 25 acres, the towns would be responsible for the first 1% of the exemption, which would put a burden, it's a tax shift onto the towns, counties, and school districts. We are fully opposed to that tax shift. We support the forestry initiative as far as you know, the exemptions. We think that working forests and plans for forest and open space are important, but we don't feel the town should be flipping the bill for it. The state should make this whole. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Supervisor Hogan. In the report, Supervisor Merlino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's only 2 resolutions for tourism, 85, and that's to authorize the agreement with, excuse me, with the New York Welcomes. We've been doing that for years, and it's a good project, and I think we get a lot of support out of it. And 86 is extending an agreement with the Adirondack Regional Tourism Council for marketing of the region. And those are the only 2 I have. I'd like you to support.
Thank you. Supervisor Strauss.
No committee report?
No. Supervisor Wild.
No report this month.
Supervisor Beatty.
Yeah, I'd like to give everybody an update, and then I'm going to have Julie Butler come up and just give a short recap on the shared services with the individual towns and the cities. So, Julie, about 2 seconds, okay? Just an update. We're working on shared services, raise the age, obviously, with some of the other counties. And Bob Usey, who's our probation director. We're also looking at the possibility of a countywide animal service contract. We're also looking, I was asked to look into, see if we could help out Glens Falls with their challenges with the computer system and so forth. I contacted Dana Palmer and Mike Colvin, and had an extensive conversation with Mike on what we could do as a county level to assist them, possibly just oversee it to help them make correct decisions going forward. So I believe Mike's going to get a hold of some of the key people in Glens Falls, maybe just take a look at what they have and possibly make suggestions if he can going forward. So I thought I'd fill you up on that. And the last thing is we're also looking at possibly getting some of the fire districts that can participate in county purchasing on board. That's a process too. So the shared services and trying to save the county taxpayers is very busy, and that's a good thing for everybody in this room, every town, and every resident. So at this time, I'd like to have Julie Butler, who's the definitely key person on all these good things that happen out of that committee, come to the podium, Julie, and just give us a short recap, if you would, on where we are. Thank you.
Without going into too much detail, I did report to the committee that we had a projection for 2017 savings countywide of just over $27,000. That was for all the towns, the cities, and the village. We exceeded that by 450%. Our savings were just shy of $130,000. So things are working. We talked about the challenges and, you know, what our office could do better. We're still looking for a better way as far as communications, getting timely responses on estimates so that we're not backed up in our bid process. You know, I also offer to come to the municipalities again to do training of new employees or a refresher for existing employees. Once my new employee starts, I'll have a lot more time to do that, and she starts on the 26th. Just so everybody knows, the electronics recycling bid did go back out. There was a general consensus to rebid that. And I have started drafting the animal control, so that's in the process. Does that cover it?
Yes, thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Supervisor Beatty. Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been thinking about on my report. I don't really have a lengthy one, and the only thing I could come up with in my first 43 days and coming up with my first report is, wow. I want to thank all of the supervisors and the chairman and our and Ron Conover especially and Kevin for all their help in helping me find the ground that I'm standing on. It's really been an interesting 43 days, and I'm starting to feel comfortable. So that is the conclusion of my report, and look forward to next month.
Supervisor Sokol.
Don't get too comfortable, McGowan. Supervisor Simpson.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I just wanted to get your attention. I wanted to clarify, with those 5 meetings, I've got some of my information that I needed to clarify.
Sure.
On the 2 resolutions.
Without objection, Mr. Sokol. Mr. Simpson will
Thank you.
retreat to your report.
After, you know, about 14 hours of meetings yesterday and resolutions, I got a little twisted there. Okay. There's 2 different proposals that are happening, and they deal with tax structures and tax shifts. The first one is the Empire Forest for the Future initiative, which we support. This is the forest industry. We support it. It's going to lower the thresholds from 100 acres of private forest property, put it into this exemption that's going to lower it to 25 acres. In the past, the state has made the towns and counties whole. In this new proposal, it's going to create a 1% threshold before the state will make the towns reimburse them for the taxes. So the towns will be on the hook for that 1%. We support the forest products industry, but we don't support the tax shift. The other piece of legislation, which I'm sure that you've all seen emails, especially the town supervisors, on the pilot legislation that the governor has proposed, where the state lands in all of our towns in the park would be put into a pilot and use a 2% growth factor in their assessed value. So the towns which your private property is not capped at 2%, our assessments could go up, say, 6% in value in year. The state would stay level. So that would create a tax shift onto the property owners into the town for the forest preserve. In the town of Horicon, there's 25% of our property is forest preserve that we receive tax on. So we're totally opposed to this proposal from the governor. We passed resolution at both the Local Government Review Board and the AATV, and we're forwarding them to the governor's office in Albany. So, sorry I got my resolutions a little.
Supervisor Sokol, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance met on February 1st. Before you are resolutions 46, 47, and 91 through 100. I do want to hit on a few of these of importance, and starting with resolution number 91, we have a revised resolution here that includes a $7,000 fee, or not fee, but a cost. And that is for, I believe, 4 time clocks that need to be replaced at the human service, or human resources? It's to get some spares on board. We just want to. Okay, so we're replacing 2 and having a couple on hand. Okay. So that is resolution 91. Resolution 93 speaks to the Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board, and that had quite a bit of discussion in the meeting. On February 1st, it's a matter of $7,000. I apologize, yesterday I did call Walter Young and asked him for more information so there could be more clarity on this. And most of you, I hope, did receive the email. In the email, there was about a 43-page, but I did not read the entire thing. One of the things that I did read, though, was the CPA report, and it did show that all of their audits were clear. So I'm sure there's going to be some discussion on this, but I just wanted to let everybody know that there was an email sent out in regards to that. That was 93. 95 is the last couple of years at Warren County, we have had a lot of discussion of our roads and the condition of them, and we have, over the last couple of years, added in a lot of extra money into the road systems. And you can see right here that we are, in total, going to put in for 2018, $2,366,000. So it's quite a bit, and hopefully they will be safe, and we see the nice job that DPW does do with our roads. Moving on to 96 is another revised resolution, and that is accounting for another $14,000 for the fuel farm. This was an unforeseen addition. They are the flanges, I guess, that go. Maybe Kevin could add to it, but it was a repair that has to be done that was unforeseen. So that is 96. And lastly, I have Resolution 98, and that is for the invasive species boat washing stations. This we had quite a bit of discussion on as well. We do have Chris Belden here, who was at our meeting, if there are any questions on this matter. But that is my report, and with our Treasurer Swan being under some hospitalization, he does not have a report this month, so he will get in touch with us next month to report. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing I'm going to report on is the NISAC meeting that I attended. I sat on the Standing Committee on Economic Development, the Environment and Rural Affairs. There was 5 resolutions that were presented to the committee. One of them was to do with waste paint. One was to do with investing in shovel-ready and market-ready sites. Another one was to allow the IDAs to provide loans and grants. One was to do with pilots on them being included in the tax-based growth factor. And the last one was one that we've passed for several years, and that's encouraging the Department of Environmental Conservation to come up with the regulations for electronic equipment recycling. We also had a presentation from New York State by the Climate Smart Communities. It was about electric cars and charging stations the various grants that are available, solar energy, etc. So that was very interesting. We spent a lot of time on that. And at the end of the meeting, it was recommended that the rural affairs part of the committee be replaced with energy. So it would be Standing Committee on Economic Development, Environment, and Energy. That's my report.
Thank you. Supervisor Hyde.
No report.
No report. Supervisor Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Criminal Justice and Public Safety met on Friday, January 26th. There's 10 resolutions before you today. Resolutions number 50 through 59. 4 are for the approval of agreements with other parties. 3 are for the improving of radio communication systems in the county, including number 58. You'll see that there's a revised resolution on your table today. The changes that incorporates appropriation limit on there. And 2 are for approving out-of-state travel for employees. 1 is in support of a proposed legislation enabling formation of emergency medical service districts at the county level. That's number 53. It's been introduced in the state senate by our Senator Betty Little, and it can help our communities address the looming problem that all of our towns and counties face. Appreciate your support on all of those. Also attended the NISAC conference several weeks ago, and while there I completed my New York State Emergency Management Certification training, Tier 1. Last night I attended the Fish and Wildlife Management Board as a Warren County Legislative Representative, and as you heard earlier, I'm now on the Common Ground Alliance Board, giving voice to our region throughout that line.
Thank you. Supervisor Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very brief. My first facilities meeting was conducted in January. As a result of that meeting, there's 2 resolutions in the packet today. Resolution 484988 would move to construction oversight technical support for the airport for the tone of $78,500. The actual work will be done. It comes to about $690,359 as a result of that work. Total project is $768,859. And the third resolution in front of you that I want the board to support is the extension in the hours of operation for the airport manager. It's not an extension of hours today, but extending the agreement up until June so we can complete the process of that we are undertaking now with the operations of the airport. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. McDevitt. Supervisor McDevitt.
Chairman, I did attend a graduation ceremony of the Steamfitters Union on Luzerne Road, and if there was one overwhelming piece of information that came out of this was the need to ensure a talented, skilled workforce in our area. In order for human beings to remain in the Adirondacks and in our North Country, they need to have the skills necessary for employers in our region. One of the major filtering industries in Washington County, I think, highlighted that message within the last 3 or 4 weeks, and they basically indicated that manufacturers in this region, we need talent. We need human beings that have the skills, and we have to ensure that we provide them. Most people recognize that the Steamfitters on Luzerne Road provide a very skilled global workforce for global foundries in Saratoga County, and they will continue to do that. There is one item that I think is important in our packet today, and that's Resolution 61, and it has to do with authorizing an agreement with the Village of Lake George for the administration of the 2012 and 2014 local waterfront revitalization plan. This is an issue that has kind of been in the news off and on over the last year, and in my effort to ensure due diligence of this issue, I reached out to Wayne to ensure that Wayne was 100% behind the administration of this type program. And just let me quickly read a couple of comments into the public record from Wayne. The state and the village asked for our assistance. These contracts for these grants have not been executed by the state pending a satisfactory means to administer the funds. The village was used as a portal to apply for funds, but as noted at the committee meeting, the projects are lake-wide and have a direct impact on the water quality of Lake George. I believe it's in the best interest of Warren County to ensure these projects are completed in a timely manner. So Wayne, I think, puts his stamp of approval on it after many, many years of experience on these issues. One issue that has been in our national news recently, and I think it's worthy of some comment, the most unfortunate incident that occurred in Florida, a community that is considered to be, by Floridians, considered to be the safest community in the state of Florida. And it really, listening and reading about some of this information, some of the more overworked phrases in our country today from politicians, and that being politicians in Washington, they all say to the parents and the grandparents, grieving parents and grandparents, you have our thoughts and our prayers. People today are looking for more than thoughts and prayers. The God that I talk to thinks that's a very overworked expression. He or she is looking for solutions, okay? A solution to background checks, a solution to ensure adequate mental health funding, and someone to take a control of assault weapons in this country. The assault weapons in this country were banned up until 1994. They were banned for 10 years. So we have got to get a handle in this country. Enough of the thoughts and the prayers. We need a solution. We need courageous politicians to stand up and take a stand. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you. Wow. Well, to follow that, which I very heartily agree with, I attended NISAC as well, New York State Association of Counties Conference, and I was also in attendance at the presentation on the clean energy communities, which I found very interesting as well, giving us information about how we can both save money, protect the environment, and create sustainable local economies like the Ensco presentation was talking about today. And I do want to report that working with Julie Butler and Frank Thomas, we are going to be putting out for bid for another hybrid vehicle in our fleet. And I want to report that the first one has been working out very well, and people on the staff are actually requesting to use that vehicle because it's such a nice vehicle to drive around. Also at NISAC, I am on the Women's Leadership Council, and we had a really interesting presentation of women there talking about leadership issues. So that was great. And in the absence of Chairman Dickinson, I'll report on the committee meeting that we had on January 26th of real property and environmental concerns. We continued our discussion about the plastic bag legislation, but we have not come to any conclusion. The state task force report came out right before that, so we're going to take a closer look at what that report said. And also we have for you Resolution 62 in the packet, and our real property director is here if there are any questions about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Loeb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Support Committee did meet in January. We have 4 resolutions, 81 through 84, which I would love you to all support. The exciting part of our committee meeting was a presentation by Weights and Measures. Weights and Measures is one of those departments that is kind of under the radar. You every day probably wonder, perhaps, who does that? Well, it's Weights and Measures. They take care of all the scales and measuring equipment that we as consumers benefit from on a daily basis. Supervisor Sokol mentioned that additional money is going to be spent on the roads in Warren County, and I fully appreciate that. As any budget we put forward, if we can find additional dollars to take care of the roads, we have 4 corners in this county, not just in downtown Glens Falls. They do a pretty darn good job in Glens Falls, but I want to make sure that we take care of all the roads countywide. And finally, with regard to the presentations from the citizens that we had earlier today, new information has actually come to me regarding the Cedars. By the way, the food there was absolutely delicious. And, you know, Washington County does a fantastic job too, and the system that would be developed would probably be fine. We have not tested the actual temperature process at an additional 20 minutes of transport, how that would affect the quality of the product. But the part that's come to mind is was a response to a question that I asked of the residents. Were they aware of this luncheon that was provided every day at the Cedars, Monday through Friday? And the response was very enthusiastic. Oh yes, in fact, that's why we came here. But put that together with the fact that Cedars is a private organization being publicly funded. This lunch is being publicly funded. The goal, of course, is to take care of the seniors countywide. But as it turns out, it appears that we have been funding, unbeknownst to us, and probably not unbeknownst to the Cedars management, we have been funding their marketing program. Right now we pay at least $17,000 a year, and the value of their marketing program is probably far in excess of that. And that needs to be looked at. However this turns out, if we stay with the Cedars, that we need to take a serious look, because we may be funneling public money into a private enterprise, which probably is not legal. And we may be looking, asking, I think we should start talking about negotiating with the Cedars as far as probably $25,000, maybe $40,000 a year in compensation from them for the aid that we give them for their marketing program. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Bill. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Report by the county administrator.
Well, I'll do my committee report. Personnel chairman, we have 4 resolutions, 87 to 90 in your packet. I'm sure you've all had time to read those. I'd just like to comment on shared services this past month, because of Julie's effort in rebidding out some of our chemicals for wastewater treatment and water. We found that one of our suppliers was charging us a fuel surcharge, and we saved an extra $640 just this week by finally getting the invoices adjusted down. So thanks to Julie and her efforts again on that. As far as administrator, had busy month with meetings, also attended NISAC. We are conducting interviews for county administrator's post, so I'm hoping this will be my next to the last meeting. I'm sitting up here as the county administrator, and I get to go back to my table. That's what I'm hoping. We're also conducting interviews for GSS position. And I'd also attended APA local government yesterday, and AATV meeting. Presentation was given on how, by the assessors, some of the local assessors were there yesterday and talked about the taxing of state property, how it's done. There's a good presentation, Alexi, and we should make sure that you get a copy of that from, I think, Adirondack Action put it on, a lot of tables, a lot of charts on how state land is unevenly assessed across the Adirondack Park. And there are some towns who do a very good job assessing state land, and there are some towns in the park that are really on the low end of getting their fair share for assessing state land. So it was a very interesting presentation. A lot of good work's been put in on that. It doesn't just affect the localities, it affects the school districts too. So I think everybody, if you get a chance to look at it, and goes from Queensbury north to Clinton and Franklin County. That was very good. Also, today I'd like to recognize Doug David, 30 years of service in the Sheriff's Department. Doug is an investigator, does an excellent job. I'd also like to comment that the snowmobile races at the fairgrounds last weekend were very successful. Had a very good turnout. Luckily, the Lord gave us some snow the weeks before the races, but it was an excellent turnout. The parking lot was full. I know Sunday was a little less crowded because of the rain, but it was a good use of a county facility. It would sit idle all winter. So I think they want to come back. I did check with the promoter Monday, and he's very pleased, and asked him if there was other things that the town or the county could do, and we're going to discuss that. And then last but not least, I'd like to publicly thank the governor on my behalf, and I think you would share my thanks with the governor. Cynthia and I both have had recent phone calls with the governor in person to talk about the ice jams on the Hudson River. He's been very engaged, and when we went to NISAC, I went down to his reception, and then, again, I got to talk to him personally about the ice jams on the river. And the staff from the state, in his office, Secretary of State, Deputy Secretary of State, they call us almost daily, sometimes twice a day, with the concerns on the ice jam. So I don't often agree with the governor, but he's done an excellent job here, and he does take it personally, and he is trying to do what's best for us up here. So I want to make sure that gets in some articles, and I will get a hold of his staff and tell them also. So, and Cynthia, we agree?
Yes, I do.
We do agree. So, yeah. So it's not over. You know, the ice is still got to move, but they've done a good job. The state has been Johnny on the spot to try to get the roads open. So, thanks to him, and that's my report.
Very good. Report of the county attorney? No report. Reading of communications.
Report of criminal and family workloads for December 2017 from the Warren County Probation Department. Warren County Department of Weights and Measures monthly report for January 2018. New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets 2017 annual report of Director of Weights and Measures. Warren County 2017 annual corporate compliance report submitted by Joanne McKinstry, Warren County Corporate Compliance Officer. Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Corp. December payment in the amount of $3,130. Copy of a petition addressed to Governor Andrew Cuomo, signed by many Warren County seniors, asking if the Cedars meal site be allowed to continue as a full working meal producing site. NISAC 2018 Legislative Conference Resolution Packet. Village of South Glens Falls notice of public hearing to review and consider the adoption of proposed local law number 1 of 2018, which is a local law to extend the term and duration of local law number 2 of 2017, which established a temporary moratorium on development approvals in the R2 and R2 overlay districts in the Village of South Glens Falls. That public hearing is to be held on March 7th, 2018 at 7 p.m. at the Village offices located at 46 Saratoga Avenue, South Glens Falls, New York. And Washington County Board of Supervisors Resolution number 17 of 2018, appointing members to the counties of Warren and Washington Industrial Development Agency and Civic Development Corporation.
Reading of resolution.
Proposed resolution numbers 46 through 99 were mailed. Proposed resolution numbers 58, 87, 91, and 96 were amended after mailing. The revised resolutions were emailed to the board and posted to the county website. Copies of the revised resolutions are in your folders. A motion is needed to approve the amendments to resolution numbers 58, 87, 91, and 96 as presented.
Do we have a motion? Mr. Simpson, Mr. Leggett on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Proposed resolution number 100 was approved after mailing. Copies were emailed to the board yesterday and posted to the county website. Printed copies are in your folders. A motion is needed to bring proposed resolution number 100 to the floor.
We need a motion to bring 100 to the floor. Mr. Simpson again, Ms. Bramer on the second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now I'll open up to the public. Any public comments on any of the proposed resolutions before the board? Mr. Whitehead?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to talk about the Lake Champlain Lake George Regional Planning Board, Resolution 93, and in particular the fact that the matter of $7,000 should be the very least of your worries. One thing that, they do a lot of economic development work. They have a large portfolio of loans. What little information I've seen is that portfolio isn't doing very well. They lost $500,000 the last couple of years. A third of their loans are non-performing. There are a lot of issues, but quite truthfully, I haven't had the time to examine the material That material, though I requested it a month ago, still has not been sent to me. I understand that Mr. Young did send some stuff out to you yesterday, and then Amanda did send it out to the supervisors, and one supervisor was kind enough to pass it on to me last night, but honestly haven't had the time to look through it in the detail that it deserves. Other similar organizations like Mr. Bartholomew's EDC, the LDC, the IDA, the CDC, the whole alphabet soup of the economic development corporations are very different than this one from the standpoint that there is an organization called the Authorities Budget Office, which requires that they all submit reports on a system called Paris. They're all put online. They're reviewed by the Authorities Budget Office. When they find issues, they issue audits on them and try to bring them into compliance. This is not the case with this organization, Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board. I have specifically asked the ABO if they offer any oversight, and they specifically told me no. The oversight, as it turns out, is here, and that's troubling. It's very troubling because, you know, when I asked for some of these materials a month ago, it turns out nobody's seen them. And nobody can present them. So I don't understand how you can be doing the oversight that you are charged with. And that is the issue that you should be thinking about now, and not the $7,000. There is authorizing law that allows this county, and you work in conjunction with Washington and Essex County as well, to create this board, but it has certain requirements. It says every regional planning council shall submit an annual report to the collaborating legislative bodies, you, and to the Department of Audit and Control. I'm not sure who that means. Is it the OSC? I don't know. Again, I've got more questions here than answers. I really do, which is why you should take your time and think about 93. In fact, you should probably set it aside, would be my suggestion. You do elect members to that board. It's disconcerting that at least one of the members says that while he's been appointed for 3 years, he's never attended a meeting. He did want to make sure that I let you know that after 2 years, he decided to let them know that, hey, I'm out here, and, you know. But somehow this is not being done. It says that every motion or resolution by this Regionally Planning Council shall require for its adoption the affirmative vote of the majority of all the members of the Regional Planning Council. Now, if they're not there, I don't really know, how that works. Again, we're talking about $7,000, but Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board has many millions of dollars of state grants that it administers. Just $5.5 million alone goes to the AGFTC, Adirondack Glens Falls Transportation Council, some of which people here are members of that. So you are, basically supervising yourself, but not supervising yourself. In addition to that state grant, which is, as I said, over $5 million, there are federal grants. They look like they come from HUD, that kind of thing, maybe $3 million there. A lot of that goes into this revolving loan deal, which, according to the audit that I read, this morning, as I'm looking at it, more than a third of the loans are considered non-performing, and that they're losing $500,000 that year, and then the previous year that they mentioned, you lost $500,000. Again, I didn't go through it all, but I think what you need to do is to take a step back, understand what your responsibilities are here, and act on your responsibilities. I mean, you have pledged to adhere to the laws of the state of New York. You do have those responsibilities, and you will be held accountable. One note of caution is that this is the very same organization that wrote a check to David Decker and why he was arrested a year ago based on that check. And, you know, you're responsible for that organization who writes a check to somebody who's now being investigated pretty heavily, and, you know, that check is just the tip of the iceberg, I can guarantee you that. But think about it, please, and I suggest that you put 93 aside. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitehead. Anyone else wishing to address the board at this time? All righty. Request for roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for, I apologize for dropping the ball on my committee report.
No.
I would respectfully request that resolutions 63 and 69 be pulled for a roll call vote, and they could be combined if that's your pleasure.
Roll call requested on resolutions 63 and 69. Very good. Any other roll calls? I'm sorry, Ms. McDevitt, of course. Supervisor McDevitt.
On 61, please.
A roll call on 61. Any other roll calls? Mr. Beatty.
Yeah, I'd like to table Resolution 93. Can I get a second to...
We have a motion to table Resolution 93. Do we have a second to that motion? We do, Ms. Bramer. Motion to table takes precedent. Discussion ends. We'll try it with a show of hands. All those in favor of tabling Resolution number 93 signify by raising their hands. Resolution is tabled. Opposed? Resolution is tabled. 93 is tabled. Any other requests for roll call? Discussion on resolutions. Does anyone wish to discuss any resolutions presently before us? Ms. Bramer?
Thank you. On 84, the contract with Bartlett, Pontus, Stewart, and Rhodes, I have a few questions I didn't get a chance to ask Mary beforehand, and I was hoping she could shed some light on exactly what is in that contract, because when we were in committee, my understanding was that it was related to labor services and the outstanding or remaining issues around Westmount. Correct. I'm looking in the body of the resolution, though, says it's also for general operations and general legal matters. And while you pull that one up, the other question that I have is whether or not you were able to get any confirmation from Bartlett, Pontus, Stewart, and Rhodes that they would be withdrawing from their representation of Skimmerhorn in the potential lawsuit related to the airport.
Let's take this one at a time. Relative to Resolution 84 in the language that's recited, is that just historic language that was in the original legislation?
I can't speak for historical language. It is just for labor relations and outstanding Westmount matters. So you wanted to amend it.
So that's my job. Would you like to amend the resolution to delete that reference, Supervisor Bramer?
Yes, please.
We have a motion to delete the language in the resolution that deals with additional services beyond specified by the county attorney. Do we have a second to that amendment? Mr. Beatty on the second. Any discussion?
I guess I have one more question then. I mean, are we going to be lowering the monthly rate that we pay that firm? Do you go to them for any other services?
No.
And I think your hourly rate is a question of if they have more services, they bill more hours, but I think your...
It's a flat fee, though.
Yeah. Well, let's deal with the amendment first, all right? Let's deal with the amendment that's before us. Are we ready to act on the amendment to delete the general specification? All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now on the matter of the, does that lower the general fee? Mary, do you care to respond?
It doesn't. We've only gone to them for labor matters in the past, so it's not like they've been doing anything extra, so I wouldn't lower the monthly fee.
We're still getting a bill and seeing what they're, I mean, why aren't we just paying them what they, well, I guess that could backfire too. Okay, thank you.
All righty. Are we satisfied? Mr. McGowan?
Could I have my other question answered, please?
Oh, I apologize.
The only confirmation I got was a statement that, yes, they wrote a letter saying they were not going to represent Skimmerhorn Aviation, but they aren't allowed to share that letter with me because I'm not their client.
I mean, I see it as a big conflict of interest if they're representing Skimmerhorn in the suit against us and at the same time representing us on other legal matters. So I'm glad that they are at least giving you some indication they will not be doing that.
You're welcome. Supervisor McGowan.
Yes, I just had a question. Mary, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mary, would it hurt to ask them to see if they would lower their costs since we've reduced the workload? Or
We haven't reduced the workload. They'll get the exact same workload that they've always gotten. We talked about this in committee, but the value that we're getting for the work they perform is really good. And I brought the hourly rate that if they billed us on an hourly rate and not a flat fee, and I brought this to committee, it was much higher than what we're paying them. I'm not really comfortable discussing that in open session right now.
no, and I'm from. So you answered my question. So thank you.
Yep.
Discussion. Supervisor Thomas.
Will Bartlett and Pontiff still be representing us on like Westmount and the Siemens issue, if there should be any issues, because they represented us in the past on that? Or are we going to bring on new counsel for that?
Westmount is included in this contract, any outstanding issues for that. Siemens, we contracted out separately from these issues, so if that ever came up again, we would probably have to do a different contract.
Okay. So this resolution deals just with labor-related issues?
And just Amanda, if you could, just a clarification on the question on the scope of service.
For the prior resolution 496, there was a correction that was done to that to remove any reference to other office matters. So it would be just the labor and Westmount. When this second resolution came up to continue 496, somehow it didn't transfer over. So what happened was we historically just copied that one forward. We fixed 496, but somehow we missed it on 84, so we'll fix that.
Thank you. Thank you. Further discussion on any resolutions? I think Ms. Bramer, Supervisor Bramer, you beat Supervisor McGowan.
Yes, I just, for Resolution 91, I just had a question because it was just thrown in there and I didn't have time to, really didn't know anything about it until I saw the revised. $7,000 for time clocks. And everybody I've seen in the different departments I've been walking with all has computers on their desk, and it seems like a lot of businesses that I do work at, everybody seems to sign in by the computer. And I'm just wondering, is this something we need to look at? That's a lot of money for 4 clocks. Why everybody has something that sits right in their desk, and we get a more efficient time when people arrive and when people are leaving from their desk. It was just my question.
Without objection, I think a technical response might be needed.
I believe there's an older resolution that says the county requires biometric, and so the clock has a fingerprint scanner on it. So if we're requiring ourselves to do that, and we have to get the clock from the vendor, and they're proprietary, so we can't even shop around. So yeah, they are expensive, but I think we're requiring that of ourselves right now.
So it takes fingerprint, eye scan, blood sample, and a punch.
DNA.
Okay, okay. Well, I can understand the expense now. Thank you.
Any other discussion on any resolutions now, Ms. Bramer?
Thank you. On 86, I just wondering if we could have a quick discussion, Supervisor Merlino, or about whether this continuing this 150K forward is appropriate given the shift and increase that we gave to the CDB this year.
Well, it's in the budget already, but just so you noted, and I did speak to the attorney on it, and if it came up, I had an answer for it. Actually, it's only 75, because that's the total amount. The state gives us 50% of that money to give to them. So, but it's still in our budget, and it's that's...
Are we looking at that contract to see if the services are overlapping with what the CVB is going to start doing?
That we've already taken care of, and you know we've been working with the CVB on certain things that they want to overlap on what we are. We're working on all those problems right now, but it's pretty much under control.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Discussion?
Could we hear from the public on that issue?
Who would you like to hear from?
Mr. Dietrich?
Without objection, Mr. Dietrich, expert witness.
Yeah, expert. I rent rooms. You raised that question earlier when I was passing out material. I did take the liberty of asking Gina Minstner, the head of the Lake George Regional Chamber and the CVB, if there was an overlap. She had to leave early. I can tell you her response was there is no overlap. And there's not. And is it a good use of funds? Her answer was yes.
Thank you. Further discussion on resolutions? And I will close. Oh, Mr. Wild, just under the wire.
This is more of a procedural question. I do have a couple of statements and questions I'd like to make related to resolutions in general and something else related to the seniors. Is this the time to do that, or is there another opportunity?
I think that given the resolutions in front of us, I would say that if you wish to, is there a specific resolution in front of us?
Not a specific one, just resolutions in general.
Just general resolutions. Without objection? Mr. Wild.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
And it's more of an observation, but I kind of take my role seriously about making decisions and making good decisions for those that have elected me as well as those that may not have and the rest of the county. And I see a pattern that there are many instances where we receive very short notice with information of which we have to make a decision on. And to me it's troubling because I'd like to make good decisions and we need to have more information oftentimes. And so I would like to see if we could do some concentrated effort, maybe a slight change in the culture of the way the operation works, to allow us to get some more detailed information quicker. And maybe, you know, when our new administrator, full-time administrator, and no disparaging comment about our current administrator, but maybe we can do some things in terms of structuring the information that we get to ensure that it kind of covers the bases that we all think we might need. And just for example, you know, we've had a couple of situations where we needed to vote on a resolution to extend a contract. And we hear that at the very last minute, and oh, by the way, the consequences are we'll deny services if we don't approve it. That kind of puts us in a box, I believe, that we need to move forward and just blatantly approve something. So that, as well as, I'll save my other comment for maybe a little later in the meeting, but thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, Supervisor Wild. All righty. Vote on resolutions.
Resolution 46, making supplemental appropriations. Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud? Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 47, amending Warren County budget for 2018. Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 61, authorizing agreement with Village of Lake George for administration of the 2012 and 2014 Local Waterfront Revitalization Plan Funding Awards. Mr. Driscoll?
No.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 63, appointing members of the Professional Advisory Committee. Mr. Driscoll?
Abstain.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 69, amending Resolution 507 of 2017, which authorized agreement with Northeast Parent and Child Services. Mr. Driscoll?
Abstain, please.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Ms. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 87, amending table of organization in Warren County salary and compensation plan for 2018. Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 91, authorizing county treasurer to transfer funds from computer reserve funds to department budgets. Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 92, authorizing appropriation of funds from vehicle reserve. Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 95, establishing 2018 road fund projects. Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 96, increasing capital project H374 Warrensburg Fuel Farm. Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 97, establishing Community Development Fund CD 75 Countryside Adult Home. Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Lowe?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 98, increasing capital project H374 invasive species boat washing station. Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Lowe?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes.
Resolution 100, authorizing appropriation from motor fuel farm reserve to the road machinery budget. Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Merlino?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Sokol?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hyde?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. Diamond?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Lowe?
Yes.
Chairman Conover?
Yes. A motion on the collective. Ms. Bramer. Mr. Stroud on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Privilege of the floor. Anyone wishing to address the Board of Supervisors at this time? Announcements. Supervisor Loeb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I noticed in our packet we have a resolution that you signed declaring March, how did you write it, Red Cross Month? But we didn't act on that. Is that something that we have to, or is it just included in the packet?
No. No. I hope you endorse it.
Oh, absolutely do endorse it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Simpson, Supervisor Simpson.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to let everybody know that the Brant Lake Winter Carnival is going to be February 24th. We'd like to see each and every one of you there with your families. Also, I'm looking forward to our first Cornell Extension Board meeting, so I'm hoping to see members of that board there on the 26th at Cornell offices, 7 p.m. And also there was, talk about the Common Ground Alliance. We have a forum every year where a lot of these collective ideas and we listen to the residents of the park. They actually have a chance to speak and participate. That annual forum is going to be held Thursday, July 19th in Lake Placid at the Lake Placid Clubhouse. There'll be emails sent to each and every one of you, and it'd be nice to see some representatives from Warren County there.
So with your repaired shoulder, don't you have some kind of throwing event?
I'm going to have a clipboard, and I'm going to write down the numbers.
You're going to be a
The
judge.
distances.
I see. You're going to be a judge. Supervisor Sokol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to thank Supervisor Leggett for hosting the DA tour this morning. That is near and dear to my heart, as I remember being a new member on the board and going to actually Julie Butler's office. And, I just said, hey, tell me a little bit about your department. And she actually, I remember her expression, she went back in her chair and she said, boy, what a nice breath of fresh air this is. But for new coming supervisors, it's nice that when we are on the board in committee meetings making decisions, that you actually have a visual, you have an understanding of these departments. And today in the DAs, I did go through with Kate, but it's amazing how small this office is, and God forbid you sneeze, you can infect everybody. But I just wanted to thank you, and I think it should be something that we do for all departments, so that when we do make decisions, it's a better understanding of what they do.
Any other announcements? Supervisor Leggett.
We'll be judging with Supervisor from Horicon on the frying pan toss at the Winter Carnival over in Horicon.
That's what it is.
That's right.
That's what it is. I knew.
Right. And as a lead
That's like a World Series, isn't
oh
it?
My God.
Isn't that like a...
It's
CNN's going to be there with...
Not to be missed. Not to be missed. Definitely make it for that. And as a lead up to it, is the Crazy Downhill Derby at Dynamite Hill tomorrow, starting around 10 o'clock.
Very good. Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you so much. I did want to thank Supervisor Simpson and yourself, Chairman, for moving forward with the first wilderness corridor future planning stages. I think that'll be really important for long-term for Warren County. Thank you.
Absolutely. And just going forward, I would ask any supervisors relative to the corridor, any ideas you have in terms or any information that you have, if you could just email it off to Supervisor Simpson so he can better coordinate any meetings or anything that he needs to do going forward. And we're going to try to build a big boat here. But again, any ideas throughout this process, don't hesitate shooting an email to Matt. I think it would be appreciated, and I know he'll get back to you. Motion to adjourn. Ms. Frazier, Mr. Simpson on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.